Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nola Shafe. Today's topic is a topic that's kind of close to my heart. Finding the one. Should we still think about it? And the reason why I decided to do this topic today was maybe about 2 days ago. I had a good friend of mine. We were looking at pictures, and I'm from Nigeria, so we're looking at traditional pictures. This was all online. And she said something about the wear. And for some reason, I decided to ask her. I don't know why I did. I asked her, I said, do you think that people still believe in the one? Do you believe in the one? And the answer she gave me really made me feel sad. She's like, you know what? I've kind of taken my focus off that. She didn't say I'm not interested, but she said I'm not really checking for that. I'm tired of being disappointed. And when she said that, it just made me feel heavy. And I started thinking about it, I could empathize with her. I could understand where she was coming from, similar experiences. But the thing that really resonated with me is that I hear this all the time. Short, tall, big, small, most of the women I come into contact with that are not married have something to say about that. And so I just decided that this was something I really wanted to talk about, as well as we just finished, reviewing Ready to Love, season 4. And when I look at some of the stories that unfolded, we have, V, who at the beginning, everything looked beautiful. She looked like by all intents and purposes, this is a beautiful woman who's about her business, but things didn't end up right. You look at all the females in this show, and it was, what would lead them to do something that was completely out of their character, completely off lane, just to try and find someone. So I thought this might be a good idea to talk about and see if we could, sometimes talking about things makes you think about what you need to do. So I'm going to have a few ladies with me tonight who are going to join me in discussing this to see if we can at least not necessarily come to a solution, but come up with a game plan. So my first person I'm going to introduce today, well known to all of y'all. This is Miss Kia Simone.
Hey.
Hey, Kia, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm looking forward to this conversation. So let's get started. My next person, known to you all as well. This is Miss Shanae. Hey, Shanae.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me.
Hello, ladies.
This is going to be great. I have someone else as well, well known to all of you as well. This is Miss Maria.
Hey guys. Hey everybody. How you doing?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So like I was saying, this was a topic that, I think we're all familiar with, the one. Should we be finding the one? Should we give up? Should we be looking at something else? And kind of to guide us as to what we should really be looking at right now. I kind of want to, we talk about the one. What is the one? Who is the one to us? How do we decide that someone is the one? Kia, you want to start us off with what you think the one might be to you?
Oh, I knew you were going to start off with me. I don't think I'm an expert, but I've had enough bad relationships to kind of know what I don't want. So when I see those things now, it's just like I don't even waste my time on those things. So the one for me would be kind of like, I think it would be one of those things, that you're patient now, that you don't feel like you're in a rush. So especially with my age, it's like, it is what it is. Like I was kind of like thinking with your friend, the conversation you had, like we get to a point where we're not settling. So do you want just someone, a warm body, or do you want that person that makes your life easier?
That's a good question. So to everyone, depending on what stage in life they are, it could be someone for Mr. Right Now, or someone who you might have certain things in common with. That's I guess, Shanae, what do you think? In your opinion, what's the one to you before we kind of dive into the conversation?
The one for me is the one that you want to do life with, the one that you want to partner with to navigate to life together.
Maria, what do you think? What's the one for you?
The one for me is that person that really sees you for who you are and loves you for who you are authentically and genuinely, and the person that, will be there with you through thick, thin, sickness and health, the person that really means those things. And yeah, is your biggest cheerleader, and you guys love each other and will do anything for each other.
Yes, I completely agree. And I guess for me, my main question here in kind of defining who the one is, how do we decide someone is the one? What are we looking at? Are we, making a list, a picture in our mind? Like, how do we pick someone and say, okay, you know what? I've met this guy. Yes, he's attractive, but there are other things that make him qualify as someone who possibly could be the one? I mean, for you guys kind of go with a list, or how do you go about kind of deciding as you navigate through the dating waters who you might say could be possibly a candidate for being the one? No one wants to talk?
Oh,
necessarily have a list. You want to go, Maria?
Go ahead, Kia. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't necessarily have a list, but I've changed my prayer life. So I pray that God is listening. So, I've heard enough positive stories where women have been very specific in their prayers. So every time I think of something extra, I'll be like, well, Lord, and it don't even be like most of the time stuff, superficial things. It's just those little things that you just be like, okay, Lord, let me add this to my list. And, I'm just waiting on the Lord. But yeah, I don't like not the list as far as physical features.
Okay. I think for me, when I look at it like this, when I'm talking about, I haven't even still decided if I really believe the one really exists, but the one for me is more like a picture than a list of traits, because I would like to envision what it would look like being with, how life would be with this one. Like, how do we interact? Do we laugh? Do we have certain things that are in common to make us kind of meld and melt together? But then there's always that question, a lot of people, and kind of going through, like when it was listed down on Kojo's thing, people still kind of ask the question, well, is there really the one for you, or is it just anyone you decide to do life with? Like for me, it was like, I think I've been on that merry-go-round one time, and I think it's more than just someone you pick. Yes, you can maybe force yourself to love the one you're with, but still for you to have like a real relationship, what I consider a real relationship, I think there's a little more to it that goes into it than just saying, okay, well, you fit 1, 2, 3, let's make this go. Even I really believe that you don't endure marriage, that you really should be enjoying your marriage. Is it easy? Or even a relationship, let's just not make it marriage. But even with a relationship, you should enjoy it. If you're enduring it and stiffing up and say, you know what, I'm just going to make it through, then it's not worth being in it to me. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But for you guys, I mean, we're talking about the one, but realistically, do you really see like dating today? I'm not saying, it's been COVID, so I guess most people aren't really dating. But if you were dating prior to COVID and even after, let's say by the end of the year, how do you feel you'll navigate in terms of looking for the one, or you're just looking for someone and see, oh, will he fit? Go ahead, Marie, I see you.
Okay. So for me, dating was hard before COVID hit. And it's hard now still. So it's not really like that big of a difference for me. The reason I say it is because when you asked the question earlier, like how do you go about determining who the one is because I start out with like a list of like criterias and stuff that I know will like disqualify people, off the roster, and then once I meet someone who, checks off the boxes, then it's about how do they treat me, personality wise, do we gel, do we have chemistry, stuff like that. And it's just hard to find that in general, like someone who really meshes well with you and fits with you together. Now in COVID, it kind of forces people to meet people online. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I mean, the in-person interaction is lacking, and I'm the type of person, I thrive more on like in-person interactions and things like that. Like this whole YouTube thing is kind of new to my lifestyle. I'm getting used to it, but it's cool. I've met some amazing people.
Yeah.
But in terms of dating wise, I find meeting guys online to be weird. It's a little awkward. I'm very skeptical. I don't trust people who are who they say they are generally. So I overthink that whole process. And so I've tried it, never really actually went through with the whole process because I was just like, they could have gills and whiskers and be a catfish, all that stuff. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Okay. So while you were talking, my sister, Christine, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today. I know CPT time is something that we Ag shoppers tend to, kind of follow. So welcome.
You're welcome, Lighton. I know that you're grateful that I graced you with my presence.
Here we go. So I'm gonna. Okay, let's start start with you, Miss Grace, me with my presence. Okay. So to you, sis, we're talking about the one. Just quick, like a cap, like for you, what would you consider the one? Are the qualities you're looking at? How are you looking at this? I know you don't have the one right now unless you've been lying to me, but how would you look at it? How would you approach it? Shoot.
I guess it depends. When you say the one, do you mean like the one that I'm going to be wildly in love with, the one that I'm going to set a particular type of relationship with? I think it depends on the intention. Some people start a relationship and it's all about longevity. That if the relationship doesn't last, then it wasn't a successful relationship. That's not how I gauge a good relationship. So
exactly.
I'm not really sure anymore. Like I used to have an idea of what the one meant. And now I think it's just, I believe that our healing has to be done in relationship with other people. So I see like a relationship as a great container for healing for both of us. And if it isn't, then that's not the one. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Because it's true. Depending on where you are in your life, the question now is, what are you looking for? Are you looking for someone who's just going to be with you for now, or are you looking for a long-term relationship? So it depends. The one could be different for where you are. I mean, particularly, I think for all of us on this panel right now, we're all above 30. So I don't know, you could still want to play, or you might want to do more. But if I kind of branch it more into, because I think you missed my intro, I was saying the reason why I came up with this topic was a friend of mine who is, I've known her for 15 plus years. When I knew her, we were in college together, and she had this dream of having lots of children. But by the time it's been 10 plus years. Now she's not married, she doesn't have children, and she's almost seemed to have adjusted her desires. And I won't say settled, but now is just saying, you know what, I'm just all about my money. I'm not really going to bother about doing that anymore. And I feel, when I heard that, I felt sad and bad, because this is what I've been hearing. So if I'm thinking about women who are maybe in their 30s, late 20s, or women who want to settle down, but for one reason or another, they haven't met someone who fits certain criteria. And so now the question is, do I just continue to focus where I'm going on that pathway and forget about this? And if it happens, it happens. Or do I do something else to, manifest or bring it into being? It's like, that's the main question. Like, where do we go from here?
You asked a lot of questions, and that's the main question. So the first, what am I looking for in someone? I'm looking for someone who can help me be present right now, which sounds like a super airy fairy answer, but I find that I'm in my head a lot. Like I'm thinking ahead a lot, or I'm worrying about something that I did in the past. I don't want to be with someone that I'm like, where is this going? Who is this person? Is he really who he says he is? I would like to be with someone who it's easy to be in the present with. And in terms of long-term plans, it would be lovely to meet someone who I adore and partner up for the rest of our lives. At least that's what I think right now. But the truth is, I'm not completely convinced that I want to be with someone for 50 years or 60 years or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if that's
telling mommy all this.
I mean, please do. She's already let me know how I upset her by being single with no children. So I think this will just be like the nail on the head. And what was the second thing you asked? Oh, where do we go from now? Do we focus on? Okay, great. I love that question. So for me, and I don't know if I should be an expert since I'm single, but I focus on living a life that feels really good to me, in the hopes that whoever I want to be with or whoever I'm supposed to be with, in me living that life, I'm going to meet him and we're going to be compatible, because we are maybe moving alongside each other or going in a similar direction. So I used to focus very much on where can I meet men, who's going to like me, how can I look good for a man, and now I focused more on what feels good to me, what's fun to me, what do I enjoy doing.
Okay, I kind of like that. You're talking with some sense. Anyone want to add to what they're seeing in terms of how they're approaching it right now?
Don't do her like that, Lola. Let that lady have her life. Just because you big sis, don't do her like that.
You know this chick already. You know this chick. She's well known. She's starting off. She's warming up. She runs her mouth.
Let Christy live. We're gonna let Christy live tonight. But I wanted to jump in when you were talking about your friend who's like, I'm not checking today. We talked about
Yeah.
of a certain age. We are not, well, some of us are still spring chickens on the call. Not everybody is over 30 quite yet, but we're approaching it soon, Maria. He's our baby. But I took the last half of my 30s to be like all career driven. I was dating. My job required me to travel a lot, and he just told me like, so when you're gone like that, like 5-6 weeks at a time, like you're expecting me just to wait. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
I didn't really think about what I was expecting from you to do. And he was just like, that's not how this is going to be able to work. So I was like, okay, well, we went our separate ways, and I focused solely on career. I mean, I was all over the place as far as my travel schedule went. I was spending 80% of the year in a different zip code. So how could you really have like a serious relationship like that? And then it got to a point where I was like, I don't even think I want to entertain a relationship like that. I got too much that I'm focused on that I can't give my attention to that. And I felt comfortable with that. I then got laid off from that job, turned 40, and then was like, oh, okay. So now I guess I'm supposed to like figure out if I want to be in a relationship or not, or what, And I didn't immediately want that.
Oh, really?
I was fine with the way my life was. I was casually dating here and there, but like a serious relationship, finding the one, that was not a priority for me. If it came, of course, it could be welcomed, but it wasn't something I was going out in search of. And now I'm just, 3 years older, and I'm still kind of like at the place where I'm like, things are really good. Have no complaints up over here. And I told myself, anyone that was talking and dating before COVID, if they can make it through COVID, then they're worth looking into further. So, we're still in COVID.
I think for me, it was different. I think for me, it was a little different. I think when I first started, maybe in my late 20s, I was like, I think, people always said I was like a guy. So almost like a guy, they say this is what guys do. Like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's a good time. So whoever's in the room at that time is the person you end up dancing with. And maybe that's how I felt. But looking at it now, it seems almost very, I really had no intent. It just kind of almost like that. Like, yeah, I thought, it's a good time, but I didn't do anything for it to happen. I just happened to meet someone. I mean, eventually we got married, but it was really, I look back on it, it was really strange. I was like, yeah, it's a good time. And that's kind of where I left it and didn't do anything with it. But I almost feel like nowadays, I think there has to be more intent in your thought process when you meet someone. I won't say you have to have a plan, but you have to have a plan, I think, in my humble opinion. But it just seems a little... It really is hard to say, and dating has changed in the last 10, 15 years. The whole landscape of dating has completely changed. Looking at Ready to Love. Like Ready to Love, I keep calling it a stupid show, but I think why it resonates with me particularly, which is why I like to review the show, I think why it resonates is that even though it gets on my nerves, it really does reflect what's going on with dating. Not only that, it actually can be almost like a warning. I won't say it's depressing, but it's almost like a warning, like be careful. Do you really want to put your foot out there? Because this is what's going on. Like, yeah, there might be producers, yes, there are cameras, but this stuff is really going on. And this kind of leads me into, I guess for you guys, for this scenario right now, if we talk about currently, is anyone interested in dating in this current field right now? Oh, damn. All right, Kia, you want to mute yourself and tell us why you shook your head?
So I said on a couple of lives, like my whole adult life, I've been with someone. So to finally have a break after, being married, can't even count the years. That's how you just, it's irrelevant in your life at that point. So at this point, I'm comfortable. I'm enjoying life, and I'm enjoying, finding myself, and, just enjoying everything that Kia wants. And I also know that I'm not out looking. Like I said, if I find him, if God decides to send him, but I also told God, prepare me for him while he's preparing that man for me, because I just don't want to waste no more time. And with that being said, it's nothing more attractive to me than a man that can pray hard for real. Not that fake prayer that David prayed, Maria's boo Jason. I can say it was fake, but okay. I just need that real, like that prayer to make you be like, oh, that's what's up. You just for real. But I'm really not interested in dating because it's so much like garbage. They just come to you and they just say some stuff, and you be like, is this how it is now? So I just haven't ran across the right one. Maybe I'm in the wrong, been like I said, COVID plus being in the house. I'm just not, I guess, meeting the right people, and I'm not, brave enough like Maria to go online. So unless they break up my house, I don't know. Where I'll meet them at, Lola.
So for now, you're in, because it's always good to see. So right now you're in the place where you feel like, nah, I'm good right now.
Yeah, because it's gonna take a special type of man that's gonna be able to love me. So, I know what, work I've been doing on myself, but I know still things that are there. So, whenever, like if God took everything away from us, we wouldn't need him. So I know there's still some things that I got, struggles with. And I need that special type of man. So any Ray or anybody can't just, come in my life because in the past they were not able to love me properly and I wasn't able to love them properly. So yeah. I'm just good over where I'm at. No headaches over here.
All right. So Maria, I guess I'm going to jump to you since she kind of pulled you in and talk about you love the online dating thing.
I know, I'm catching all these straight bullets, being called a dating lover or whatnot.
Like she said, you're going to hook up one of the RTL guys.
Okay, they ain't ready for all of this. Okay,
But for you, do you feel like you're ready to date, and how are you approaching that?
I mean, I do feel like I'm ready to date. I've been single for some time now, waiting on the one to come along. I'm like a hopeless romantic, okay? I'll admit it, okay? I will never give up on love. I think that if I'm 65 years old and still not married, I'm still not giving up on love. Like, I still like to think that, true love exists. It's out there. I've seen my parents do it and do it well and beautifully. And so they've modeled love in front of me in a way that I aspire to. And so I think that it's possible, think that it exists. And if God has someone for me, I think, he'll bring that person along, it'll be time and season. And I just have to focus on preparing myself when that time comes. So these years that I've been single, I've been working on myself, trying to be mentally well, trying to be, just stable, like just physically, so I don't have to feel like I have to just settle for just any type of man. I want whoever man comes along that sweeps me off my feet to be someone that I'm choosing because I love them like it's a real thing and not be out of desperation, so I like to take my time in that area. And yeah, I can never give up on it. I think that it could happen and that, it could happen for me. Now, I'm also willing to be single for the rest of my life if I never find someone who is for me, if we never cross our paths or we misalign the stars or whatever, and it never happens. Look, I'm perfectly fine being alone. I enjoy my own company. I'm a loner. I'm an introvert, so it's not a problem. But would like to find love. Would like to be romance.
So, are you doing anything? I don't mean but is there anything you're doing other than just kind of sitting? Are you just kind of sitting and waiting for him to find you, or are you positioning yourself?
Okay, so that is the question. I try to be intentional, but it gets hard when you have a busy schedule, and so yeah, it's the intentional part of it, living daily life. I need to get better at that because they're not going to find me sitting at home on YouTube or whatever. I have to be more intentional about putting myself in spaces to be found by the one that I would be interested in. But it's it's tricky out here because it's how do you what environments do you go in without looking thirsty or whatever? And I don't know, if I go to the club or a bar or a lounge with my friends, whoever I meet in those environments, it's like I don't really take them that seriously. And that's just me. And I know it's wrong, but like I always envision like, oh, I'm gonna be at Barnes and Nobles or like in the library or at the grocery store, like, and they're just gonna be like, yeah, like
swinging through the aisles, and your eyes will
exactly.
lock.
Exactly.
The
Like
music
the
starts
movie.
playing.
Yes.
That glitter, like the little glitter filter is going to come on.
Absolutely. Like it's storybook, fairy tale. It's gonna just all come together and click. And we live happily ever after. Like that's the vision that I have in my head. And I know that that's super naive and stupid. But
I think it's cute.
I mean, I'm just hoping that whoever I meet, I can meet them in person and not necessarily online. But if it happens online, God knows the best thing that needs to happen. So, I'm open to it. But yeah, I got to do better in that area of the intentionality.
Yes.
I'll
So
say that.
Sinead, go ahead. Yeah.
I started dating in the era where social media wasn't even a thing. So for me, dating in this space is so different because like, the thing for us was you go out, you exchange numbers. Like that was the big thing. People don't do that now. And so people also don't talk. It's like, I remember back in the day, if you really liked a guy, y'all stay on the phone until y'all was listening to each other breathe.
Good morning.
And they don't do that now. Everybody's typing and texting and messaging. And I so much of that I get so lost in the sauce on that. I jumped on a panel and then went to my DMs one day and was like, who are these people? I saw you on such and such panel. I'm just like, delete. I just can't even. I have zero interest in interacting in that way. For me, dating is something that because I traveled so much, like I mentioned, I would meet so many amazing people at the airport. And even when I would get to my destination, just meeting people out and about, I'd go out to dinner, I'd go out to parks, find what are some of the local places to hang out at. So I definitely was positioning myself. But again, my thought process wasn't, I'm doing this so that I can get shows, right? That wasn't my intent. My intent was more like, I'm in this new city. I've never been here before. I'm going to go and learn it. I'm going to go and find out something interesting. So I'm kind of that girl that's like, if he's looking for me, he sure gonna have to find me because I'm not going out looking for him.
So I guess we're both kind of in the middle there. I see it. Okay, so I see Kia. She's like, forget y'all. You come looking crazy. Forget it. I love Maria's side. She's on the other end with the roses and the flowers. Shanae and I kind of in the middle, like, eh. And that's kind of why this topic came to me 2 days ago, because it's okay, yeah. So now I'm in a space where I probably should be putting myself out there. The online dating is, those apps, I've opened up an account or two. I'm just like, I don't know about this. I don't know what's going on. But I do feel there is more to it than just saying I'm ready. There's more I need to do. I'm not quite clear. I've been doing, and I've been kind of listening to stuff and reading stuff because I think I have to be more intentional. And I think that's what's making me think, like, do I be more intentional in what I'm doing? As what did I do wrong the first time, so I'm not repeating it this time? So I'm kind of looking at that like, okay, this has to be a conversation with women who've not necessarily been there, but they've seen other things I haven't seen. So we're kind of switching and exchanging information. But before I head to intentional dating, in my research, there people talk about, soulmate versus the one. Is your soulmate, can your soulmate only be a love interest, or is that just someone, a friend you connect with versus the one, or are they the same thing? Guys,
I don't believe in soulmate. I don't think anybody should be a mate to your soul.
Interesting.
So that's the one thing for me. So yes, there could be the one that you decide to spend. I would say spend the rest of my life with, because if I do get married, it's my plan to just marry once. I don't want to do it multiple times. So no, I don't want anyone occupying my soul, and I don't want to occupy somebody else. I'm just kind of healthy woman I can partner well with in life, then great. Because what's interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So I had the list, right? I had the list of all the things that this, mystery man had to be.
Yeah.
And I met him and I dated him. And then I found out like, oh, so it's more than on the list that is actually needed for this thing to work. And so I passed the list out, really. And it's something that, of course, you have some base level non-negotiables, but for the most part, there's so much nuance to who is going to best suit you, because here I am, a ever evolving human being. that would like to be partnered with another ever evolving human being. So who I
Right.
meet in today is obviously going to evolve in 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. So for me, it's someone that I can be great with now, but that I can also grow with in the future. You know what I mean? Like when I look, like how Maria spoke about, like when I look at my grandparents or when I looked at my parents, and I hear their stories about how they met and when they had the first child and when they had the last child. Them folks grew up together. My mom was 22 when she
Oh,
had me.
wow.
Married my dad like a year before that. You know what I'm saying? They're in their 60s now. My dad is 72.
Oh, that's
They
really
literally
lovely.
grown up together. They married, divorced, and then married each other again.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did. That'll be another panel discussion.
But
So for me,
I like that story.
seeing that example has taught me that, like, you could have the list, but quite honestly, it comes down to who is someone that you can be good with today and that you can grow with for tomorrow. Because life is going to change, and so are both of you.
Boom. Yetunde, Christine, Ajishafe, what's
Yeah.
up? The rebel in the pack.
Wait, sorry. What were you asking me?
So this is what we're talking about. We talked to two things that I want you to answer. I'm going to make it real simple for you. One is is what is going to be your approach in terms of dating for what you want right now? And then two, do you believe in soulmate? Is a soulmate the one? Is a soulmate different from the one? Is a soulmate just merely a love interest, or could it be somebody else?
Great question. I do believe in soulmates, but I don't believe that it's just one soulmate. And when I think
What's a soulmate to you? Let me interrupt you. What's a soulmate to you?
that's actually what I was getting to. If you were going to be patient and let me finish my sentence, you would have noticed that's actually going to say.
All right, jump in.
As I was
Forgive me.
saying,
Go ahead.
to me, a soulmate is a soul that we have experienced life with before. And that doesn't necessarily mean someone that we date, right? We've all had experiences where we meet another woman, if you're into men, where you feel like we've done this together before. And that's how I feel about a soulmate in a partner. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. I would love to be in a romantic relationship with a soulmate. So yes, I believe it exists. And what's my approach for dating? My approach for dating right now is learning to love myself as aggressively as possible and thinking about the things that I want from a man and from a relationship and being those things right now. Like, for example, something that I really want in a relationship is someone that we can go on adventures with. I like to just get up and leave. I like to fly all over the place, as Lighter knows. So I want to do that in a relationship too. So instead of waiting for that relationship so I can do that with the guy, I do that right now. And as I mentioned earlier, and hopefully, I'm hoping that will lead me to whoever. I don't want to say whoever's next because that sounds temporary and not super deep, but that's kind of how I feel. Not that whoever's next is temporary, but I used to put so much pressure on myself that the next person I have to meet has to be the one. This has to be the guy that I has to work out with. I'm so done with doing this again. I don't want to do this again. And it put so much pressure on me. And then we'd go on the first date and I'm like, do you want kids? Do you want to get married? What's like, I'm just putting so much pressure on how this relationship is going right from the beginning. And that is super needy energy and no one responds well to that. So instead, I just have it's a struggle, but I have tried to give myself what I feel like I need from a man, but not necessarily in a way that means that I'm replacing a man.
I kind of like that. And when you kind of buttoned onto something, I think that was important in that I feel a lot of the time as women, when we meet someone who maybe initially fits your physical specs, immediately you start envisioning, or you already start putting, a position on him. He's wearing a cap, so there's already some promise, some hopes. He already has to start fitting certain things. And I think, like you said, that energy kind of either saps it out or they can sense it, and it almost never ever works. Never works ever. Kia, for you, I know you're not ready to date right now, but in terms of soulmate versus the one, do you feel they're the same? Are they different, and what's a soulmate to you?
I need Lord to explain these to me because there's certain people that I just feel like that, it's just a connection that you just can't break. So I do believe that certain people are, you may not want to be in a relationship with them, but I do believe that certain people that you just always, when you know it when you feel it, you just like, there's something about you that I just feel that I got love for you. The one.
Do you think they're the same?
I believe that there is one for you. We just choose not to find that one, because I believe that God, again, has a purpose for all of us. Again, like when I got married, he was not the one. I chose him. So, I got what I got. So I think like we be, patient, we could find that one that, adds to your life, that person who you enjoy spending with. So I believe there is the one out there for us. We just have to be patient. So that's just my take on it. Like I'm with Shanae, where we were saying we just not, out there just trying to, and it has to probably do with my age. I'm just not out there jumping like, hey, I got to get in where I fit in. I'm more, cautious now, I'm more reserved. Like, and again, I'm with Maria on that on this part. Where if I go the rest of my life without the one, and he just over in Africa somewhere, or he in Dubai, I just never meet him, then I just have to live with that. I'm just living in the meantime. So I do believe that there is the one out there for me. I just haven't came across him.
Okay. Maria, what do you think? Do you feel like soulmates and the one are the same? Are they different? Do you actually believe in soulmates?
Well, when we say the one, we're basically saying that there is one person for you, right? And if we think about the concept of a soulmate, then it kind of connotes a similar type of a thing, right? David Adekoya actually said something interesting in the chat. I'm gonna read it. He said, is a soulmate someone you believe God destined for you, or just someone that perfectly fits with you? Different perspectives. So him saying that is pretty much on par with kind of what I grew up thinking a soulmate was like God has someone that he's preparing for you to like marry, like someone that will fit within your life, and you guys' life, union will fall according to God's plan, right? Do I believe that is the case? Well, I believe that God has a plan for my life. He knows the hairs on my head that are numbered. And so I believe that, within God's plan, there may or may not be someone for me that, falls in line with that. And the way I approach any situation, whether it's a new job or, a man or anything like that, I just ask that God's will be done. And if it's meant to be, like the doors will open and things will fall into place in a way that makes sense, right? And there will be confirmation, and God will speak to me and lead me and guide me, like that's how I think of that. Now, me living in each moment day to day, I don't know whether or not, like, God's plan is not the same for everyone, right?
That's true.
So I don't know if he has someone for me or not. So all I can really do in my blind state, like I can't see the future, like, is just be the best version of myself and constantly strive to be the best me, so that when we do meet, if he's supposed to be there, I'm ready to walk through that, door of opportunity when the time arises. So that's all I can really do. Do I believe in it? I believe that there are soulmates for some people. Like, there are people that God has planned out for you to fall into his will and purpose with. So yeah, I believe that.
I agree. So I do believe in soulmates, but I actually do believe that soulmates can be a friend as well. Just somebody you just connect with.
Yeah.
Like, I almost feel like my relationship with my dad, he's died. We just had this connection where we could be having a conversation and we'd be saying something, but we mean something else. And we both understand what we're saying. But anybody else listening just thought they had no idea what we were really discussing. And we just seemed to click. It just, to me, that's how it was. I don't think I've been that connected to someone. Like, there are times when I was a kid, because he used to run casinos, so he'd stay up late. He'd come home like 2, 3 a.m. I'd wait up for him. And I remember there was a couple nights where I'd wait up, we'd be talking from 1 a.m. to like 7 in the morning. I can't tell you what we talked about, but that was somebody I felt I was really connected to. And that relationship with him, I felt kind of built me into who I am. So people might say, yeah, I'm in your face. The confidence he gave me was just the fact that he listened. And he'd been doing that since I was a kid. Like, I think I was 9. I remember one time and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, he's listening to me. He's actually paying attention. He stopped what he was doing, put it down, and looked at me and said, yes, and just stopped. And I remember just clocking that about 9, 10. And since that time, he's the one for me. So that's why I believe that soulmates are not necessarily like a romantic relationship, just someone who gets you and you guys get each other. You think out. So for me, yeah, soulmate can be a romantic person, but it's also just someone who you don't have to explain much. Like, you can just sit in peace and quiet and get each other. Like, I don't have to, do anything on the outside to impress you, to bring you in. You just get me and I get you. And it's just really that simple. So I almost feel like it's probably rare to have a romantic relationship with someone who gets you like that. A lot of the time it requires all the work. You have to get the person, you have to understand the person. So it almost seems unrealistic to believe that, yeah, your partner is meant to be your soulmate. But with the one, it's like, depending on the day for me is how I feel about it. It's just like, okay, yeah, maybe today, maybe there's not that one, but the one in that meantime. Because it's a huge world, there are billions of us. I almost hesitate to think that God created just one person for me. I almost feel like, it's certain things that might just align and meet. I do believe God, everything happens for a reason. And it's like, when these things happen, are you learning, even when you make a mistake, did you learn lessons from that mistake and take something from it? Or if you don't learn the lessons, you keep making the same mistake and then you don't learn. So it's like, everything happens for a reason. When you have a relationship, even if it breaks down, it's not successful, that still is meant to be a lesson. Like, how, we say in the church, from a test to a testimony. How are you going to go through a test and not come out with a testimony, just come out and keep doing the same test over and over again with no results? So almost like that for me.
Lola, can I jump in real quick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm reminded of the story of Abraham and Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
So God promised them that they would have a child and that they would be, that Abraham would be a father of many nations and all this and that. And then Sarah concocted her own plan based on what she believed was a limitation that she and her husband shared, which was their old age. We all know the story, right?
Yeah.
She got Hagar, and her husband knew each other biblically, and then produced a child, right? But Isaac, who was the baby that Sarah ended up getting pregnant with and gave birth to, was always referred to as the promise that God told them he was before she ever got pregnant. So that story resonates with me as we're talking about this, because in that particular example, God was very specific. He said the promise would be to Abraham and Sarah, and that it would be Isaac. They went and did their own thing and birthed an Ishmael, but it never got God's stamp of it being a promise. It never changed that. And there were tons of people in the earth at that time as well. But when God has a plan for your life, that is what it is.
Yeah.
So for me to say that, I don't want to say this wrong, and so I'm trying to make sure I choose my words correctly.
Say how you feel it, then we can break it down.
I feel that if God has destined for you to be with someone, then that's what that is. If you want to call that the one, your soulmate, whatever. I'm calling it what God destined. God destined that Abraham and Sarah would have Isaac when they had Isaac.
Yeah.
They had other plans and decided to go and birth something else based on what they believed they could or could not do. But it never changed what God's original plan was. It never changed that. So just because I can go out and date somebody because I feel like it's taking God too long and I don't want to wait, or I don't want to this or that, if he has destined for me to do life with somebody, then when I meet him and we come together, then will we be fulfilling what God called us to? I could do whatever I want in the meantime, but does that now make that the one? I don't think it does. And I don't like to really mess with what God is going to ordain, because I'm not God. I don't have the track record he has. I don't have the abilities he has. So for me, it's, again, I don't personally believe in soulmates, but I believe very strongly in your God ordained purpose And when God is set for something to be, and Kia talked about it earlier, she picked who her husband was. I think she was kind of admitting that, like, was this who God sent? She said she picked him. Okay, and so, okay, thank you. I didn't want to speak for you. She shook her head and said no. Does that now mean that Kia's one is no longer out there because she went and did something on her own? No. Much like Abraham and Sarah, the destined one for Kia is still there. And there's still time, opportunity, all of that for it to come together. Just because things don't happen the way we want, how we want, the time we want, with who we want.
Yeah.
Never changes what God's original plan is. And so I know for myself, I could have very well, I say this to my girlfriends all the time. If I would have gotten married at the time when I have a group of girlfriends, we're kind of dating and doing life, doing some of the same stages of life together. They all got married, got kids. I was like, not me. And I always tell them, if it would have been me, I can assure you I'd be divorced today. I would be divorced possibly multiple times today. And so I guess you could say it's not that I'm still holding out hope. It's just that I know that there's God's plan and then there was Shanae's plan. Okay. Those plans didn't always align. Okay. I wasn't always willing to wait God out and search God out and ask him, what about this? I was very impulsive, wanted what I wanted it. Felt like I can handle it. I got this. And I guess God was like, oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. Keep living, sweetie. You'll learn. And I did. I did. And so I'm now at this space where I'm like, I went from like my 20s to my 30s. I just went from boyfriend to boyfriend, relationship to relationship. I never took breaks. Then realized like, oh, you're supposed to take a break in between here? Oh, I thought you were just supposed to, the way you get over one is you get under another. I didn't know. I was just doing,
that's funny.
And now here I am. I know people will say, at your big age? Yeah, at my big age, at 43, I'm just figuring out that, wow, I got like a cool decade of dating that I probably process through and make sure that I don't take any of that into whatever it is I want to do moving forward. Because I would desire, again, if I get married, I just want to do it once. So, yeah. I just wanted to drop that in there. I don't know if that's.
Can I just add to what Shanae said? You notice that like Paul never got married. So it's certain people that, you just have to like just accept that you might not have that person that you're going to marry. Because like you said, you can marry the wrong person. A lot of people do just get married just, that's a whole nother conversation, just to, fit the ideal of what you're supposed to do. But I remember when I was going through my separation, a pastor told me, listen to Shekinah Glory, yes. If you listen to the words of that song, it's like very powerful. So even now that when I go through something, I have to like just listen to that song, lay out in my floor and just listen to it and let it, resonate within my soul. So basically the song is, if God really told you what he has for you, would you still say yes? That was the hardest thing, Lola, to really accept, because I was saying like, okay, whatever God say, I'll roll with it. So it may not be in God's will that, I have husband number 2. It may not be, he may have a bigger plan for me. So again, a lot of people get, I think, so tied. Really, relationships is showing God's love. Because marriage, like I said, I don't know, women on this panel, I think we're all kind of like in the same, like, mindset kind of. We date with purpose. So we're not trying to just like, just be out here willy-nilly. So when you get married, marriage is like, you got to die to self because you can't be selfish anymore. So again, everyone is not ready to do that. So you have to accept like, okay, well, what if God has a bigger plan for me and I just have to accept it? So I would like to have the one because I don't want to be in this house by myself at 65 with this dog. But Lola, sometimes you just have to understand, like, that's Shekinah Glory. So anybody listening, Shekinah Glory, yes, powerful song.
So see, what I'm getting from Shanae, and I think that's perfect kind of segue in, is like, so if we're really looking at it and abiding by his will, there's a difference between his perfect will and permissive will. So if we're kind of going in on our, well, he's got these traits and he's going to be good. He's got a job, he's got this, he's got that. He's got these certain things, your little check boxes, but you didn't have his perfect will, his intention for you, what he intended for you, then what happens may happen. the person you end up with in a big relationship or a marriage may not necessarily be the one that God intended for you. But my question to this is, Shanae, is for us and the rest of the people out there, how do you know when you are in, well, I won't call it the sweet spot, where you're actually, this guy, you're in this relationship, is it revelation? How do you know that, you know what, I'm in? Because you hear a lot of the time when you find, like, for example, my pastor might say, when he describes how he courted his wife, like, you know, the conviction, something like he has a story for it. How do you know you're going with perfect will or permissive will? How do you know this is the one ordained for me, so to say?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak to it from the place of thinking that I had found the one, because I haven't found the one. We haven't found each other.
Mm-hmm.
I was dating a gentleman. We were together for a few years. And so one of the things that I personally do is whenever I date, I make sure I have community surrounding me, because when I'm isolated and I'm making decisions by myself and I'm in an echo chamber, when left to my own devices, I'm probably going to be very destructive. So I had counselors around us. I had my family, and I was open to people saying what they saw, what they were discerning, what they felt. And I'll never forget, this one leader said to me, a man should never be in competition with you, sweetheart. You should be able to be who you are without him competing with you. Y'all should complement one another. But right now, when I see you flowing and moving and doing, Shanae, you can almost see the jealousy in his face.
Oh, wow.
I was so floored. I was like, can't be. He loves me and I love him, and but I'm so thankful
That's the
that
word.
right there where I maybe would have been dull in an area to that, or maybe it would have taken me some time to finally catch up and see that. The fact that somebody around us was able to look from the outside and spot it and pointed it out to me, that let me know, like, even though we were talking about marriage, he clearly wasn't the one, because I don't want to strive with my mate. I don't want to be in competition with my husband. I want us to partner together, and we can't be partners if we're competitors. So I would say that obviously, you know, you have to consult the Lord, but don't be afraid to have wise counsel. The Bible says that there's safety in a multitude of counselors. Don't be afraid to have wise counsel around you who will speak to you and say, Maria, I know you liking this dude and y'all look good together, and it's all of that. But I'm seeing something in him that you might not see. Submit it to you for consideration, and you do with it what you wish. And you have to be in a position to be open. See, sometimes people aren't open to that. There's people that want to date in a vacuum. Don't you say nothing to me about my man.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we won't. And when he's running upside your head or whatever, and that's why sometimes people end up in situations where they probably should have gotten out and not encountered abuse, but they were isolated. And so, you know, it can be risky. So for me, you got to consult the Lord. And by consult the Lord, let me just break that down a little bit, because we say that kind of loosely, but what does that really mean? Okay. So when you consult the Lord, it's just like when I consult with clients, right? So I ask them, so what is it that you're looking for? Talk to me about your vision. What's your mission? And then tell me how the company I represent, tell me how we can partner with you to bring that vision to fruition. Then I stop and I listen. I'm taking in what they're saying. Not a one-way monologue, but it's a two-way dialogue. And a lot of times when we tell people to consult God or to pray, it's a one-way monologue where they go, God, I want this, and this. Okay, in Jesus' name, amen. But you got to stop, wait. And sometimes that might mean sitting in uncomfortable silence until you hear back from him. And God will speak in different ways. I know for some people, he speaks to them in dreams. He'll give you a vision. He'll talk to you while you're cooking, or for some people, when you're in the bathroom, wherever it is that you can go and hear God's voice the loudest. For me, it's when I take walks. When I'm out in nature, it's like I can hear him clear as a bell.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm really digging on a guy and I'm like, ooh, I'm liking him, I'll go on one of my walks or a bike ride. And I'll just say, Lord, you know I'm liking so-and-so. And I really could see us be together. But Father, if he is not the one for me, I need you to speak to me and give me the strength to be able to walk away if it's not for me.
Amen.
Don't let me settle in on something that isn't right for me. And I'll continue on that ride until I hear back from him. And I won't make a decision until I hear from him. Sometimes people be impulsive. They want to move fast. I know that because I've been that way. I'd be like, God, you taking too long. But his word says, my ways are not your ways. I don't work off the same time schedule as you. A day for you is 1,000 for me. So you gonna have, if you want me in it, then you got to allow me in it. And so I learned that the hard way. But thankfully, the gentleman I was talking about, we didn't end up getting married. But I will share this: he's been married 3 times since. Had we married, you could have counted that as 4. And there's been children along the way as well. And so I think sometimes, it's just, you have to be willing to, if you want to let God into your dating, into your relationship, you really got to let him in. And that means putting your agenda, your wants, your desires before him. Let him know what you want. And he already knows your heart anyway. But then you got to let him speak back to you and let you know if, one of the things that you're wanting is very selfish. And it's not going to benefit that person's life. So I got to work that out of you before I let y'all partner together. Because if I let you get with him, y'all be then sabotage each other.
Boom.
Yeah, y'all look good together, but y'all not good for each other. So
I love that.
Can we pass the collection plate real quick? I mean, I need a whole word.
Yeah, no, for real, because that answers like 2 questions. One, the thing about perfect will, and the thing is so true. When you meet someone, there's a great physical attraction. Yeah, you're probably not waiting. You're already going ahead like, oh, he's da 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 da. But what she said you just sit still and wait. That means you don't go along that line, the intimacy. No, you wait, and then you wait, and then you wait. In real life.
But you gotta also be willing to listen and not try to bargain. Because I was the bargaining sister. I would negotiate, be like, Lord, that ain't what you're saying. Let's really, and then that's like a lot of times when we have a lot of heartache is because we didn't listen. And that's when he sits you down, like I told you. You remember that, like you said, Shanae, mine is like, when I'm always busy. It could be like in the car, just whenever I'm quiet. And he like, I told you. But again, we negotiate and we be trying to make it work. But his teeth, he got perfect teeth, Lord. I know you know that. Or he doesn't have any children. He has his own home. And we try to negotiate things. And Lord's like, okay. And that's where he said his permissive will. God will allow us. And that's why I said that song, yes. Because I will be on the floor pleading. And I thought I understood what the song meant when I first was listening to it. And when I finally felt that thing, I was like, ooh, you really want me to say yes for real, and let it all go and let you? So we just have to understand, like what Shanae said, just be willing to listen to what the Lord says. We can pray, but we have to be able to stop negotiating for Ray or whoever we're trying to negotiate for, because again, we're going to have nothing but a headache, and he's going to sit back and just say, I told you. That's why that's a headache. If you read like a lot of the Bible stories, when people had headache, God allowed stuff, but he was like, nah, that's why you run around here, leaving your country, doing all kind of stuff, because you was not in my will. So I think, ladies, we just have to be patient and just, trust that if it's his will, it's his will.
And you want his will anyway. You don't want something that you had to, I joke with my girlfriends, please don't bring some dude up in here that you taught the Lord's Prayer to, slap some anointing oil on, and now this your husband? Girl, we done sat up here and have full-on Bible studies. You are baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost, you working in the prophetic, and now you want to tell me that Mary had a little lamb. That's your husband?
Yeah.
Ma'am, you just wanted a man. And see, but I love how God is, because he'll let you have what you ask for. The principle's called reaping. He'll let you have it.
Yeah.
He'll let you have it.
Yeah.
Sometimes as a lesson to teach you, like, Sarah and Abraham had Isaac, but Ishmael didn't go away.
No.
He didn't just, even though Sarah kicked out Hagar and told her and her son to leave the house, that Ishmael was still very much alive. He was still your husband's son.
You still talking about him now?
Girl.
Yeah.
Girl. They're at war today. The spiritual Israel and Isaac. So we have to really be careful, because girl, let me tell you something. I don't want to have to rack up a bunch of Ishmaels until God bring me my promise. I'll just wait for the promise, because Ishmaels are expensive.
Hello. And I think what you're saying now kind of ties into this next point. And I think it's a big thing for women, which is why we do some of the dumb things we do. This, they give you these stats, in certain cities, in the major cities, there's, 1 man to 7 females. And, the numbers is one thing, reality is another. And I still believe there's a space that we should occupy as women where we're not thinking about, oh, well, you're in one place and there's 1 man to 7 women, if that's true or not. I don't even want to believe that. but it's just that scarcity mindset. We start feeling that, oh, this one right here, this is the best I'm going to get. That he's got a job and he's got a head on his shoulders, he's got 2 ears and he's not missing any teeth. That's the one. And I think that's where we kind of falter and we start making these faulty choices. But if we're sitting in a space where what's mine is mine, and the one God intended, like following those principles. And I think living in this world, when you're successful, you're following principles. When you start making mistakes or you get lucky here and then fall down, that means you're not really going along principles, you're just kind of guessing. But if you're following principles and you just sit there, what is mine, you're thinking in a place of abundance. You're not in competition, that's the biggest thing. Not feeling you're in competition with another woman. That's why we haven't gotten our act together yet as women. We're always thinking we're against each other. Sisters, we're not against each other. It's just, we need to really realize that there's one conversation and then the real conversation. And so you need to be somewhere else. So I think like what you're saying along right there is we need to really realize how special we are and there's something for us. Anyone want to say anything about that? Ooh, everybody's kind of quiet. Oh, well. So the next thing I actually wanted to go to kind of top on to, I guess the whole aim is here, yes. So the one, is there the one? Do we believe there's the one? How should we now go along those lines to be in a space to meet that person? So we've acknowledged that even some of us who are saying we're just waiting, not that we're against it, we're not saying we want to be alone forever, but what do we do to put ourselves in the right space? There are many things you're doing, like Shanae said, it's that, you meet someone, whatever the case may be, you're not running ahead. You're definitely, you want to sit in his perfect will. You're getting wise counsel around you. You meet someone, they need to have an opinion. You definitely want to be listening. But I think another thing we can do that is actually something that we are actively doing is intentional dating. What is intentional dating? We have this as a catchphrase. Everyone's talking about it. I'm intentional. What are you intentional about? So I'm just going to start on a few things and I'll let you ladies kind of jump in. So for me, intentional dating is like how we started. We were saying how when we talked about the one or thought about the one, we had that, little list, like traits, he should be this, Yeah, that's all good and well. But in my mind, I've always thought of pictures. Like when I listen to music, I see scenes, us doing things. And to me, it's almost like when you start with the scenes first before the traits, it's like, I'll give an analogy. Like when you want to bake a cake, the ingredients you can use for a cake are the same ingredients you can use for bread, depending on what the proportions are. So if you're looking at traits, if those traits are not in the right proportions, you're not going to get what you wanted. If you wanted a cake, you're going to end up with bread. So it still is important to actually have a picture of what you see. What do I see being with him? Are we having fun? Are we laughing? Are we traveling? Are we doing these certain things? Once you have that picture, then you narrow down to the traits. Okay, so this is what I see. What are the traits I need from that? And just kind of get your bullet points. Otherwise, you'll say, because most women, you see all the shows, everyone tells you how they've got this list that's like, 100 points long, and they still don't end up with someone, or they end up giving up or making a list of superficial things that prevent them from seeing the right one for them. So it's like once you have those traits, and some of the important things I think people should think about is, what's this word that what's her name would say? Kara was saying, your girl, she was saying something about, I think something about safety, taking care of my heart. So like emotional safety, a space where you can feel comfortable both physically and intimately. Now, I'm not just talking about sex, but being able to be vulnerable with someone. You can't be vulnerable if you don't feel safe. So these are the things we should be thinking of ahead of time, not after we meet him and be like, oh, he's got kind of a bad temper, or I don't know what to say. So I think this is how we should be looking at that. And then you've now got, an initial picture that, okay, now I'm approaching it with intention. What do you guys think? What do you guys have to add to the intentional dating piece? Y'all don't run in a hurry.
For me, like intentional dating it starts with knowing what you need and sticking to that. And a large part of dating intentionally is not wasting your time on like stuff that is not going to work. Like when you see a red flag, believe it, recognize it, and act accordingly. Okay. Yeah. Like there are so many times when people are dating and they're like, well, he's a good guy, but, he raised his voice at me, this one time during this conversation. It was kind of weird, but, not a big deal. We'll let it slide. Like, sis,
You start letting things slide. Yeah.
He should never be raising his voice at you. That's not how he should be talking to you. So I mean, I be like thinking everything is a red flag for me because I have like a fear of wasting my time with the wrong one, you know? And if I'm over here spending years of my life with this person that we are not meant for each other, that means I wasted time trying to find the one that it could be, right? But it starts with knowing what you need. You have to know ahead of time. Otherwise, you're going to go into the dating field blind, accepting anything, trial and error, throwing paint at the wall, hoping something sticks. It's a very precarious way to live life. Like, you know, I need to have some level of like, you know, understanding before I walk into a situation, you know? So for me, that's what it's about. And then in terms of intentionality of like I talked about earlier, you do have to kind of meet people. Like you have to put yourself in an environment where you know that your type exists, you know? And so that part I think is the hard part. Like finding them, being in that space, you know, intentionally scheduling time on your schedule to do that is a whole process that I don't have down pat. Like we would all like to just happenstance meet them in the grocery store, but 9 times out of 10 it'll probably come through more intentionality, especially in 2021. But yeah, that's what that means to me.
For me, the intentionality is not just knowing what you want, but knowing what you offer as well. Spend so much time on what we want him to be or her to be for the gentleman. And it's like, because like one of the questions I ask when I'm dating is, so what can you offer? What are you bringing to the table? And I need to be able to answer that for myself and for whoever asks. Like they need to know what they're getting if they happen to choose to date me. And I also feel like it's important to know what I offer and what I value and how I can add to a man's life. This is in no way to be conceited, but I know I'm an asset.
Hello.
I know I can complement someone's life. I know that I add value. I know that, as the Bible says, the man that finds a wife, like I'm translating Sinead translation, you're gonna be trending after you get with me, boo. So like you know what I'm saying? Because I know what work I've done. I know what God's done in me. I know what work I've gone out and done, the ugly unearthing of stuff in me, the ugliness of like, this is wrong with your attitude and that is wrong with your language and look at your family, this and all of that.
Yeah.
So I know what also I'm bringing to a potential suitor, and I'm prepared to share what I bring to the table and ask him what he brings. I think another part of intentionality is stating up front what your intentions are. Sometimes we can get caught up with the aesthetic, or, you know, if I'm being honest, sometimes we just see a man and our mind just start drawing and illustrating stuff that sometimes isn't there. But if you would just wait, you'll see what's really there. So I think you got to be upfront. Like for me, I'm upfront with like, I'm a family person. I desire to build family. I desire to build generational wealth, leave a legacy I already come from a family that has a long legacy. I just want to add to that. I'm not trying to take away from that. When you meet my family, yeah, you might feel a little intimidated. You absolutely, they're accomplished, amazing people. You gonna fit with that? Because if not, then we're not even going to do that. Because I'm with you, Maria. I'm not. Who's here to waste time that I can't get back?
Right.
No, I'm not. And so for me, you know, when men that I have met have been like, oh, that's too much, and I don't think that, I'm like, great, that's what you want. The guy that looks at that and goes, yeah, I see where I can fit into your life. And as a matter of fact, I see where I can add to your life. That is one. The ones that are intimidated and telling me, oh, why you expect so much? Oh, you think that you need to do that? I'll be like, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
A lot of them out there. So don't act like it ain't possible. It just ain't you. So thank you for your time. God bless you, sir. But you ain't it. And it's okay. You got to be okay with that. Like, we got to be okay with, like, I think he was talking about before, you meet the guy, he got great teeth. And we stop right there. Like, oh, his dental plan is amazing. If we have kids, they'll have great teeth, you know. But girl, That's what orthodontists for. If y'all got some teeth with some jacked up kids, get them braces and keep it moving. Look, dig deep, find the other stuff in there, sis.
Yeah.
What are the other men in his family like? What are the other women in the family like? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot there to unpack. So I think intentionality is looking at what you both intend to do, where you intend to go, and really being honest to say, like, can I go alongside? Can those two things mesh together? Because if they can, then great. And if they can't, then they weren't meant to. So don't try to make it.
Because people will happily waste your time.
Woo.
You give them permission.
And we can waste people's times too.
That's true.
Wait, that reminds me of that one meme where the guy's whispering in that girl's ear and he's like, I just want to waste your time, girl.
But
I'm like, yo, that's literally what they be thinking when they be trying to be like, let me take you out, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah. You're going to waste 2 years over some chicken and the soda.
Right. Oh,
What?
Lord.
Waste your destiny over a soda and some chicken.
Let me tell you something. You'll meet men. You have to be very keen. You'll meet men that look. Let me tell you something. Anything with eyes is visual. Okay.
Yeah.
When you see a person, you kind of already get the whole vibe about like, oh, okay. I got you. There are men that look at you, assess the situation, and then will decide like, let me see if I can get her to break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get her to break. I have a friend of mine who I said, you give off such a, like, men know if they are about that okie doke, you and your face says, get thee behind me, Satan.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't even approach you because they can already look and be like, yeah, no. And then even the ones that think that they're up for the challenge, I can get her, I can break her. By the time they sit down and have a few conversations, she done weeded through you, sir. No, this ain't it. And so we have to stay, alert, vigilant, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some that are out there that are trying to pull the old okie doke. So you got to stay on. You got to stay true to your intentions so that you don't get off track. And like Maria said, start making passes. Like, well, girl, I thought you said that he had to have a job. Well, he's just between blessings. So like we're just praying and believing the Lord. He's gonna send resources from the north, the south, the east. Boy, he need a job.
We don't do in between over here.
You don't do the in betweens. Damn. Like, what happened to the standard? And that's why some dudes be like, let me see if I can get her to break, because they know sometimes they can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's where the intentionality, you need to know what you're going for before you even start the process. So when you see that coming, you see it before it even gets to you, swipe left.
I like what Shanae said, though, about like how you present in the world kind of attracts certain type of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you know you want, like, okay, I work in a very client-facing job. Like I meet with clients all the time. I'm a consultant, all that great stuff. I can't just show up to a client meeting, or if we're pitching new business, I can't just show up looking any old kind of way. All right. I have to show up looking the part, professional, collared shirt, I have to, you have to have the look about you, not even just the look, but you have to have the aptitude and like all of the tools you need to navigate that environment and that space, right? Because if I showed up looking like, I just came from a house party or whatever the case, they're not going to take me serious.
They're not serious.
And I know we don't like to talk about, it's all about, accept me as I am, love me for who I am. Yes, be you, but also upgrade yourself, and attract the energy that you're looking for, that is going to be good for you. If you always looking like coming from a hood party, guess what? That's what you're going to attract. Like that's what people are going to be gravitating towards. And I don't mean to say it like that. Like I'm not trying to like, talk down on anything or anything like that. I'm just saying like, y'all get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know what? With this, it's definitely a picture. You know what? I was going to do a guy session, but for some reason, I wanted to do a separate session for guys, which is why I don't want to bring on now. But it's like I'm still getting all these messages about, yeah, come on. Anu, if I let you on, you're still coming for the guy session.
Lord Jesus.
And he better behave himself because he's in them chats acting up.
Yo, Onu, he could just be 10 toes down all the time. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, no, before you get on, Father, we thank you, huh? We give you glory for the Wi-Fi that is seamless and smooth. We thank you for the audio that is clear. Oh, we give you glory, God.
I'm gonna let him on now, but hold on. I'm gonna send
In the
him
name.
Oh my goodness. I'm sending him a link, but you're coming on twice, that means. Because yeah, he seems to be in the spirit, and when he's flowing, he's flowing.
When he's flowing, he's flowing. Come on.
All right, so I've sent him the link now, but pretty much, I mean, what can we do as women? This is what's going on, and I think even though I'm not such an expert at the online dating, I think when you have the intention, even looking at a profile, because I've been on a couple, well, maybe two sites, and if you see some of the nonsense they have in there, that would be a red flag. That's enough to say, you know what, I'm good. But sometimes there's a tendency, oh, well, let me just see what he's about. Let me see what he's about. And I think just approaching, because if you don't have those standards, you'll fall for anything. So you already have to have things in place. So even when you see a human in front of you, and it's not necessarily just, yeah, there should be an attraction, but there are other things. How does he speak? For me, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I don't judge, I do judge. But there's certain things, like if you've got these pants, like this style that the dudes are wearing now, the European cut, I love the European cut. But yo, if it's swinging at your calves, that's not a suit anymore. Like you're in that little play, a short set. That's a short set. Like, homie was wearing the choose you set. Like yeah, if you're a grown man, if you're dressed up and you're in a pair of shorts, that's not dressed up for me. But I'm making it light. But there's certain things we should be looking for that ordinarily we might forgive if we don't already have some standards in place. And so the reason why I really wanted to do this was, yes, I want to go out there, but I want to go out there with intention. I don't have time to waste. I don't want anybody wasting my time. I don't want to waste anybody's time. That's it. So it's like, if I already start this conversation, I almost believe that, and that's why I talk about, you know, the mindset of abundance. Yeah, I hear all these horror stories. I see these horror stories. You have these the reality shows showing us these horror stories, but that's not my portion. That's not what I'm claiming, because I'm going into the space, and not to criticize them, but to say the way I'm focused, my focus is different. Like as soon as I see something that doesn't make sense, swipe left. Exactly, deuces, I'm moving on. And so that's kind of the conversation, because I do believe in when we occupy a certain space, then we'll manifest what we need. And I definitely believe that.
You know what, Lola, a lot of, I want to say too, just from a couple interactions that I've had, there's men out here that are dating very intentionally too. Even more intentionally than I can even remember in times past. I had a gentleman tell me just flat out, he was like, I'm looking to get married and have a child by the end of 2021. That's intention. And I said, okay, well, thank you, sir. God bless you. And I wish you all the best in your endeavors. It won't be with me. Because our intentions don't align. Nice dude, handsome. Woo-hoo. He can't fit no hero pants. But no, because our intentions don't align. You're going to be upset when we get to the end of 2021 and I'm looking at you like not pregnant and I don't want to get married.
See?
So, right? I was just like, so we just like, and he messaged me and was like, well, I guess I'm friend zoned. I was like, can we normalize friend zone? It's okay to meet people. And when y'all see that the two visions don't align, then y'all could be acquaintances, friends, colleagues, whatever you want to call it. But like, there's nothing wrong with being in the friend zone.
And this is why I wanted a separate session for boys, because I'm curious. And now that you say that, I mean, it's not impossible to imagine or believe, but I still wonder, like the general consensus, do men approach it? Well, you know, men can be focused, but are they approaching it like that? Or are they just like, hey, it's a waste of time? I mean, there has to be.
Focused. Men have told me, oh, you're too career driven. Like, I would want you to be at home. I was like,
oh wow.
Okay, well then.
But they're clear.
But right, I mean, as much as I felt like, well, dang. But on the other side, I was like, you know what? Good for you. Have what you want and be willing to keep that standard and keep going until you find that girl that is like, okay, I'll stop working or whatever you want.
I love that. Yeah. That's where. I think so. Going down to the final countdown, because I think we've kind of, I hope we've helped some people. But for me, it's like just kind of summarizing everything in a picture. Because what I did, the thumbnail I chose was this couple that I follow online, Love and Slim. The tall guy, he's like 6'7". She's on your end of the country. And what I love about their energy is the way they met. She says that she was in his DMs. She's like, hey, whatever. Apparently they live in the same building. She hollered at him, but clearly there was some intention there. Although in the beginning, she said that initially he says that he had no intention to be married. They're married today, and I mean it's early days yet, but they're happily married. And so that's the picture. It's like, and of all places in California, like, those of you who live in California, I heard it's a tough market, particularly for sisters. But in that tough market, she got the person she wanted. And so it's like, and that's it. And it's it. Yeah, they're sad stories. Yes, they're good stories. Where do you want to fall in? And it's just being focused. But there's a type of intention you have to approach. And I feel like when we have that intention, we can nothing but manifest that, because it's not just you, but you're in conjunction with the spirit. You're working in conjunction with that. It's like, you can't go wrong. But the thing is that, and that's what we kind of listed through our conversation, is that sometimes we just, we want to do it ourselves. I'm guilty. Like, I have short attention span. I don't have a lot of patience. Do I sit down, like after I pray, like who said it? Somebody, thank you, God. Like, do I sit down in a space and listen? When I've met someone, and I'm open to constructive criticism, but do I take it? Do I really know? Do I invite them into the conversation? I'll be halfway through the process before I invite you, like, yeah. Because it's like a lot of time when I know what I want to do and know what I want to do, but maybe I need to pull back the brakes and invite some wise counsel. I'm like, so what's going on? But I have a tendency to move in the dark. I'm not a dark princess, but I have a tendency to
Dark Lord.
just to kind of move in a certain way. Homie has joined us for the final countdown. Sir.
What's good, Ozu?
What's going on?
Oh, we can hear him.
You can
Oh,
hear
snap.
Congratulations. Yes. Hi,
The
everybody.
Lord is moving.
Lord is moving. Hey, what's going on?
Nice sound too.
Thank you. Thank you. How's it going?
We're good.
Yes.
We see in your scrubs, sir.
Just got home. I'm sorry. I changed.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We've done this many times, but so you see the topic. You're probably, your market value is pretty good right now. You've got the currency, decent looking. I think you got all your teeth.
I got all my
the
teeth.
DR in front of your name. Your complexion
yes,
is even.
It is.
Your English is you got your conjunctions in the right place. Adjectives. You're stringing those words together.
My American English is in place. My Nigerian lingo is not. It's not where it's supposed to be at.
Don't worry, they can teach you. That's not a problem. So for you,
we need Chrissy back to throw some smoke back at Lola. She over here wilding all of a sudden. Like, what's going on?
But honestly, you heard the topic. It's within, and my curiosity is with guys. Is like, for you, either now or in the past, how have you approached dating? Like, are you at the point where you're dating with intention? And what is that for you?
I mean, it's more discernment, but screening. My thing is, like, you have to find people who are compatible for you. Like, going out, I mean, dating or meeting people, that's the easy part. Dating with someone that you can feel you can build a future with, that's the hard part. And as much as, like, with online dating is becoming more prevalent, it doesn't take out all the homework you have to do in order to find a match. You can do all the research you want, but unless you see it in play or see it in front of you, you never know how compatible somebody is. And even if you use all these variables to equate success or what you're looking for, until you experience that, it doesn't substitute that. Like, your experiences build you up for who you are today, but you don't know about the other person, how their mindset is thinking. And the thing is, like, most people are more self-centered than selfless, and that plays a lot in relationships. At least I've seen in the past in my life. And it's, unless you're willing to put the work, like, I know I have to put in more work in relationships now than I did in the past. Yeah. And unless you're willing to do that, there's no point of going forward. Like, you can't expect to work less to make something work something that's going to be more the most important thing in your life to work out more. That's if I could summarize it down, that's the best way I can do it.
Interesting. So but you're busy right now. So have you started that process now?
I haven't. Man, ever since COVID, I shut everything down completely. There's nothing to do.
So AKA ladies, you can shoot your shot. The market's empty. The lane is free.
The DMs are open.
Move
It
quick.
is a lot open.
That Wi-Fi is crispy, clear. Your messages coming straight.
Yo, them FaceTime's gonna be in HD. Okay?
HD, baby.
HD.
4K.
This is a sign.
I'm not sure you understand how busy I've gotten like the last month. It's like I've not seen anything like this before, and it's gonna be like this for the next 3 years at least.
Yeah. And you're gonna wade through it, and you probably meet her in the midst of that too.
I don't know. Like if I met the female version of me right now, like honestly, I'll be crying for her because this is ridiculous. Like this, I don't know how we're gonna do this.
So you need to seek wise counsel. So you're gonna engage us to help you figure this out. Ladies, at me if you want to talk to him.
Don't drop off the group chat just because you got a friend. Let us meet her.
Yeah. At me if you want to
try. I'll try my best.
Let us know. We are your wise counsel.
We are the consulate, okay?
Come on.
Oh, this counsel ladies. I got it.
So I'm not going to grill you because I want a guys group too, but I just wanted to bring you on because you were busy in that chat. Like when you're on fire, I know who you are. When you're on fire, you're on fire. Like then sometimes you'll just be quiet for the whole life, just sit back in the dark.
It's not that
I'm just like this. Then he leans forward and says something, and that's it. So it's like, okay, let me get a little piece of awning before you go back to his little hut. But yeah, so that's the thing. And it's like hearing, I think what a lot of women don't know or we don't think about, let me put it like this, we don't think about is that men, serious men, are looking and dating with intention. And and women will respond, be like, where are they? Because we're not seeing them. And I think, Sinead, you were the one who said it, that the things we're looking for, certain things we want, certain qualities we desire, do we have that in us? Because if we begin to have that kind of energy, then we can only but attract. Because if there's certain energy you have, if a guy is if he's not a serious, like he won't even feel comfortable approaching you. Like that scene with Diedrich and Vern, when he said he was nervous, and was all this, like she had a lot going on and he wasn't sure if he met the bill. I think that was it for him. I don't know what else it could be. And I think that's how it will be for guys. Like if you're carrying, and I don't mean being stuck up or, pompous or overcome or arrogant. I just mean you know your worth. And that requires some self-work. You know your worth and you're entering a space like you know your worth. You're his child. You know whose you are. You can't but. And even if somebody dares, like a Dark Lord will dare approach you, your light will burn him and he'll just kind of just sliver away. So it's really, I guess I want to go into summation. I'll let the ladies go into that. It's pretty much just kind of tying it together. Your energy, I think, is a great thing. Of course, your spirit life is something else, but that doesn't necessarily happen in front of people. Your spirit-filled life goes on at home. That's something you've built up. And then when people see you, they see your presence and they see your energy. But that comes from other things you've done at home. So since Kia, you're next to me, I'm going to let you kind of do a summation. So, kind of tell me how you'd like to summarize. Like, for me, this chat was for me, for my nieces, for anybody out there who's now coming off COVID, and it just seems to be so many women out there. Because I think for a woman to go on a reality show for dating, if she's not looking for exposure, she really is at her wit's end. And it's like, what would you want them to know to summarize that would be helpful?
What I would like ladies to know, because most of us been on enough dates, so we have like the blueprint, like and like in the Bible days, the Israelites, they just went around until they just basically all those years wasted. So ladies, we don't have to keep going around that mountain, just keep going around that mountain because you have the blueprint. So at this point, even if you're 30, even if you're 20, you've had enough dates to start paying attention to those things that are positive and that are negative. So I just suggest ladies, pay attention and don't feel like you're rushing to feel like you obligated to get in a relationship to check that box or whatever you're trying to do, because it'll eventually become a headache. For me, like I said, to the older ladies, I just think that we should just trust, that the process and just be patient. Just, don't feel like you just have to just date, like with intention. Like sometimes God will protect us. And I feel like that's what I'm on right now in time out. Cause I'll be like, Lord, who is DM? Nobody don't be in my DMs. Nobody comes talk to me when I'm outside, and I don't go outside with a bonnet on, nothing. But it just that situation where, I don't know. Nobody approaches me. I can go outside, and they be just like. So I said, Lord, I'm on timeout. But I just want to say, just don't try to like be aggressive, because I could be like, feeling some type of way and just be like, well, somebody talk to me, because that was a point in my life where I felt like I had, the proof point. But ladies, just be patient, like I said, because sometimes you may be on timeout and don't even know it, and you gotta be careful those prayers you pray, because God listens. When I said, God, prepare me for the man you have for me, I know He literally took that literally, because I've been over here waiting for a minute, and it's getting kind of boring. But I'm waiting.
Oh, and Kia, before you please let people know, I know you have a book out that they want people that it talks about relationships too, so it's relevant to what we're talking about. How can they at you to get this book? It's on Amazon. Go ahead, sis.
So, yes, I wrote a book called From Pain to Love. So basically, the story is about a young girl that goes through some situations. And, like I said, I'm like Maria. I am a hopeless romantic. I watch Lifetime movies still. I have like a, vision of me laying at the beach with them, we're reading books and all that. But the girl her vision was so on, she was looking for love, and she was looking for love in all the wrong places. And basically she came to the end where she had to realize that love was within God. That's just a synopsis of the story. I know sometimes I may come off as hood bougie, but it's a very well written book. I'm a better writer.
You're from the D.
I'm an introvert. So get the book, From Pain to Love.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Prepared today, because there's somebody else on there with a name similar. So make sure you get Kia Simone, KeaSimone, and I promise you will not be disappointed, because you will not be looking at women the same why they do foolish stuff.
All right, cool. All right, Pastor Shanae.
Lord, no, don't call me Shanae, please. Lola, with your permission, could my summation be a response to a question that came in the chat?
Please.
Okay, let me just go back and find.
Tell me where it is, and maybe I can pull it up. Who is it? Who said it?
Deja Robinson. And she asked, how do we know when we've put in enough work to date healthily again? Is it something we will know when we feel it?
Pull it up. All right, cool. There you go.
Yeah. And so I would say for me, being someone that, like I told you before, I never put grace between relationships. What that gave me was a filter and a heart full of all of those, whatever was left over from those relationships. And I would notice that I'd be with a different man, but it would feel like the same thing again. And I would blame it on the men. I would project on them and say, see, same man, different man, same game. Not realizing that that's coming from in here. That's not down to the fact that because it's in here, that's what you and him are drawn. That's what's causing y'all to come together. So if you want something different, you got to cleanse that out first. and then see, after you have done the work and you've processed through all your previous relationships, and let's say you've like the Bible says, you've swept the house clean. Not good enough just to have the house clean. You now need to fill those places back up with God's love, with His purpose for you. Him telling you, you're beautiful, you're wonderfully made, you're the apple of my eye. You are more than a conqueror. I've made you with a purpose. You have a destiny. You are royalty, right? So had to go through the work, flushing it all out, cleansing it all out, and then spending time just soaking in everything God said about me and kind of like rethinking and relearning, who is Shanae? Who am I? And then I know it's hard to explain. It might sound weird, but you really do get a sense or like a check in your spirit when you're now at a healthy space to share what's now in your heart that's healthy, that's good, that's coming from a pure place. You'll know that it's time, and you'll have to ask the Lord to lead you, to let you know where it's safe to take your heart. Because just because you've been healthy and been cleansed doesn't mean that your heart needs to go here, there, and everywhere. So you ask him for his direction on who can handle this new healthy version of me. Who, I mean, not to sound conceited, but who is worthy of that? Right? Don't cast your pearls before swine. So I would say that you will have an inner knowing, and you also might even want to just ask some people around you. Ask your inner circle. Do they see the new healthy you? Can they hear it in your language? Does it come through in your energy when you walk into a room? Ask people, how do I show up? I'll never forget, I had a friend who said, "Oh, you just hate men. You so mad at men." And I was like, wow. No, I'm not. She was like, yeah, you are. And I was like, how do you, why? You know, she just basically broke down like, that's what you're giving off. You're mad at X. And y'all done been broke up for a minute now, but you still mad.
Wow.
And that's coming through your attitude, your skin, you know. And so you got to get that stuff cleaned out. But once you do, you'll know that you're at a good place, and you'll be ready to take your heart to the next safe place where it can. I mean, because if it's really done right, that new, fresh, healthy heart will just smell like a great aroma. When you walk in the room, it'll be like, what? Oh my God, who's that? It'll be like refreshing. People will be drawn to you. So those are just things to think about to answer that question. And to sum it up,
Thank you very much.
come on, Onu with the Wi-Fi.
Dr. Anu, you want to give us like a good male twist on it, how women should be thinking,
I'm
how to avoid, the dark lords?
okay. I think it's like two things from a male's perspective, especially when it comes to dating. Like, men are simple. Men don't overcomplicate things. What happens when they get overcomplicated is when they have too many choices or too much time on their hands. So when it comes to dating, or when it comes to successful relationships, when it comes to marriage, it always has to be the right time and the right time, right place, or right moment. There could be the right time in the wrong moment, or the wrong person, or definitely the wrong time with the wrong moment. When I'm last year, my brother who just got married, I remember when his vows, what one things he said, it was like his first date with his wife, he was unsure, but he knew he had to continue to work at it, figure out exactly who she was. It took him a matter of months to realize, you know what, this is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life. And if you go back, and if it was like, I remember his girlfriend before he met his eventually wife, she was like one of the worstest people I would have known. But I couldn't say anything because that was who he was with. Even though he was in the right space that he wanted to get married, it was the wrong moment. When the right time and the wrong moment line up, everything typically goes the way it's supposed to go. When it's not, especially for guys, that's when the problems arise. And it's like, you really can't, there's nothing you can do to go in or change that person, that type of mindset. We have to, as men, realize, you know what, it's one thing to be ready to be intentionally date, but also having discernment, being able to realize why that person is supposed to be in your life. And when you can answer that question truthfully, when it gets to the time where they're going to say their vows, it's going to be probably their most important speech of their life, and it's going to make 100% sense. And when I heard my brother's vows to his wife, I was like, you know what, that boy was in love 3 months in that relationship. There's nothing you can do to tear him away from that woman. It's not going to be complicated. Love is not going to be complicated. Men are not going to overcomplicate something that's meant to be simple.
In a nutshell, from Dr. Anu, ladies, shoot your shot at me, and I'll see if once I clear you, I'll see if you can come up the ladder. The next person to clear you will be Pastor Shanae. There are going to be like a few checkpoints, but if you're the one, you'll come through. Just start praying now and fasting. I do believe in fasting and praying, okay? If he's for you, he's for you. He's a good guy, and he's a doctor. All right. Some doctor dollars. All right, Maria, how would you like to do your summation?
Well, I just loving this conversation. I am the young one out of everyone. Like, well, I'm not actually that young. I'm almost 30. But I just glean so much knowledge from you guys. So I really appreciate like joining these conversations with you guys and listening to your perspectives and everything that you have to say. I'm still learning. I'm on my journey of life. Like, I don't have all the answers, but I have learned a couple things along the way. And I want to piggyback off something that Shanae said, something about like, knowing your value and your worth. I think that is very key. And something that I think a lot of women overlook, or it's very an underrated aspect of things, right? Like you really do need to know your value, because when you know your worth and your value, you're not going to let just any old thing or any old body take up your space, take up your time, and attention. You'll understand that certain people just aren't worthy of your time, attention, space, all of that, your energy. Um, I recently was out with some girlfriends of mine, and we were walking, and a group of guys came up to us to try to, I guess, holla at us or whatever. And one of the guys came up to me. He was like, "Oh, you look like someone I would have to take seriously." And like, I never said anything to him. Like, nothing came out of my mouth. Like, I was just walking with my friends. And I thought it was interesting that that's the first thing that he said to me. So it's not something that, like, when you know your value and your worth, it's not something that you even have to proclaim on the mountaintops. You don't have to put it in your screen name. You don't have to, brand yourself that way. It will exude out of you, and you will carry that aura of someone who, wow, she respects herself, she values herself, and she's not going to just fall for any old type of haphazard thing that we trying to spit. And that's where we want to get to. I think that you know at the same time that women are doing self work and bettering ourselves and figuring out our value, I think also men need to make sure that they are learning how to treat women, how to date women with intention, how not to play with women's emotions, and how not to be F boys. Okay. So it takes two to tango. There has to be balance. And those are my final thoughts. Yeah, I'm loving this conversation. Thank you, Lola.
Thank you. I was gonna put a summary, but this last question just got me, and I thought I should quickly bring it up before I end it. Lilu Naya says, "Why don't men shoot their shot in public anymore? I swear, in 2017, I'd see so many men shoot their shot at girls in public. Now they do nothing unless it's online. What happened?"
I don't know what happened.
Brother O.
Dr. Arnold, do you want to give us anything on this before we close it down?
I mean, most guys don't deal well with rejection. Number one. Number two, it's easy. I mean, it's easy. It's easier to approach a woman via the internet. I mean, internet, Instagram, than it is to walk up to them. Like in 2017, internet. I mean, Instagram wasn't what it is right now. So again, yes, a lot of things happen more in person. There's other factors as well as that's leading to us now, but it's an easier form of communication. You can get a response back within seconds. Whereas, like, if you wanted to shoot a shot with a girl in 2017, you had to make sure that she was available, that you could walk up to them, you knew exactly what to say, how you're going to say it. What's the worst thing you can do is mess up a text message and get a yes or no online.
And so there we have it. I just want to say that, like I said, I pretty much kind of summed everything up that I wanted. The purpose, someone out there who might see it tonight, see it tomorrow, there's hope. I don't want you to walk around feeling like, yeah, I'm just going to be all about, the money and the cheddar. That's one part of it. I always say, God bless a woman who has her own. Please have your own. But also, we can chew and walk at the same time. So while you're chewing your gum, you can walk. So while you're getting your career on point, you can also begin to prepare yourself. Even if you're not ready for the outside world, work on yourself. Who are you? What are you? Whose are you? How's your spirit life? Where are you going with this? I want you to kind of acknowledge who you are and you're good. And healing, I mean, because everyone's had some kind of trauma. Healing is fundamentally important. You can't go anywhere good without being healed, or else, this catchphrase, trauma bonding, you end up trauma bonding with a serial killer. So you don't want that. So you definitely want to feel that you've healed from the last event. Once you go through that, then you definitely want to, and we say dating with intention, we kind of listed what it is. Not just, these fancy traits where you see on TV. No. Who are you? What do you want? What is the picture? And then list it. Is this someone I can trust? And once you've got a whole picture and a line, and then you begin to approach the world with that energy, and then also being intentional. I mean, how to date is a whole nother show. We could definitely do that, but it's like, of course, online, I haven't really experimented with that much, but there are ways to do it online and doing it properly. There are ways to do it in person and doing it properly. But I'm really of the old school where, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing, where I'm not going to be on one knee talking to someone like, hey, how you doing? Like, I believe he should approach you, because with my energy, I'm going to need you to have more masculine energy than I do. And I'm unapologetic. I'm not aggressive, but I definitely need. So I'm going to need you to approach me. Do something. Then I'll give you the attention with a smile, a wink, whatever it is. I'm not really one for, approaching other people. So that's where I see it. So pretty much, I hope we've helped you. I appreciate everyone being on the panel. Like I said, I do have another one coming up, similar topic, but with males this time, because for us, a woman, we always want to see what a man is thinking. We want to see the inner minds of a man. Like, was he, a retired Dark Lord? What did they used to do in those meetings? What did they tell them to do? How did they move? How do I avoid them? I don't want anybody with all these questions. I'm hoping we can answer them when I do the boys panel. So I'm compiling names now. I've got my email in the description link. So email me so we can throw this plan together and have a good conversation. The whole point of my channel here really is to have conversations. I'm a little selfish because I feel like I want to learn from the conversations I'm having. I'm not here because I have all the knowledge. I have a divorce under my belt, so I don't have all the knowledge, but I want to learn. And conversations is pretty much the beginning of it all. So everyone, I appreciate you for checking in with us, guys. I guess this is everyone. Say bye to everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.